look forward to. I'm not disparaging myself, but when it comes to Legal Tuesday, you learn something. Okay, that is a guarantee. And Ebu, let's get this show on the road. There we have it. Indeed, it is the 5 o'clock hour. This and every Tuesday, we get Advocate Eliud Ngugi Esquire to come into the studio. He's, of course, the partner, one of the partners at Ngugi Mburu Advocates. This is a guy who, when he gets in here to do the Lord's work, not only does he do it for us, he does it for you as well. Okay, an individual who is so good. Not only has he part of when you talk about the movement that is the LSK, of course he's a member, but I'm talking about even in the council he's involved. In terms of the Karen business community, they award him and reward him every year. He's involved. He still gets time. Not only does he have a young beautiful family, he also has time to run marathons. What are you doing with your life? Wakili Ngugi, habari yako kaka?
Salamu sana.
All is well?
All is well.
What are your handles there, my brother?
Wakili Ngugi on X, Eliud Ngugi on LinkedIn.
Karibu sana. Once again, hold on for the applause. Well done for the applause. There we go. First off, the young one and Madame, they're all good?
Yeah, all good. They're doing fine.
Very good. Now, yes. Speaking of being all good, Baba, I am confused. That my wife wanted to go. It's the end of the 16 days. Okay. And today there was a demonstration. There was a culmination. Okay. In the CBD of, this femicide. Right? And I was watching the news. And I see that the disciplined forces, aka Kenya Police, are arresting individuals in the CBD. Tear gas. Yani, they are showing their discontent with the demonstrators. And the demonstrators are asking why. Last I checked, is demonstrating. Let me just ask this questions direct. Let me stop spinning weaves because you're here. People have been arrested. They're going to the cop shop.
Yeah.
This happens every time watu wanakusanyika and they get together to show their displeasure of whatever is happening on any given Sunday. I thought, is it not where I hear people saying that it is our constitutional right? Is it? We've spoken here.
We've spoken here before about it.
Is it our constitutional right to demonstrate?
It is a constitutional right to demonstrate, to assemble, to picket.
Assemble is the word, yes.
Yes, under Article 37 of our constitution.
Yeah, we've spoken about it here.
Yeah, that one can go and every person has a right to peacefully and unarmed to assemble, to demonstrate, to picket, and to present petitions to public authorities. That's what the law provides.
Thank you. So then let me ask the idiot question. Because maybe the trick is in that word peacefully. Is shouting peaceful, but that's where, because the cops, every time they now step in, they say this is not kosher, that's then tear gas starts. Obviously, when tear gas starts, things stop becoming peaceful.
True.
So when I'm shouting, is that peaceful? Can the authorities say, no, peaceful is you walking quietly and as quiet as a church mouse, just holding placards, then you're good to go?
There's nothing wrong with shouting. What is wrong and what probably has informed having a procedure on coming up with first making an application to the OCS of the area is the fact that there are goons who take advantage of any demonstration and come to the streets, riot, loot, mostly loot in other people's businesses. And the same constitution does have a provision on right to property protection under the same law. Each person has a right to that protection. And so someone went to court and there was a decision made that directed on how to go about making a request, or rather the court give step by step on how one should make a request before going to the streets. One should make that application to the OCS of the area and get a a green light, and even sometimes the police are going to escort you as you do your demonstration to make sure that you as a demonstrator, you're also protected, and the business people are also feeling safe with when they are handling their normal day-to-day business. Yeah.
Now, Esquire, you know, it is said that on all these, I don't know why I find demonstration a violent word. You use other words aside from demonstration.
Picketing, assemblies.
Yes. On all these assemblies, yes, applications have been made, but they don't get a response. Is it just making once I've made the application, I'm good to go, or I must receive a response?
There must be a response given, because you're saying, hey, we are issuing a notice to you that on this day we shall be on the streets. The police are supposed to also give a response and say yes or no. This is the reason why we do not want you to proceed and do your demonstration.
So
or yes, you can proceed.
So if the silence, that is a no. Silence is denial. Remember how they say silence means consent. So silence is denial.
No, it's just we should call the authorities. We should call the security forces also out because of lack of confirming.
Yes.
Because they need to confirm and say yes or no.
Yes.
Should you proceed or not?
Yes.
And if they say no, then you can even rush to court and tell the court to help you. Step in, because that's your constitutional right, and the OCS of a certain station has declined to give you that permission to go and demonstrate.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, so that has clarified those issues as pertains of today, right? Now, on Thursday last week, so clearly Thursday is 2 days after Tuesday, I came across an article, so clearly that's why we didn't talk about it. Yeah, we are discussing matters of interest, legal, that have come up over the past 1 week. There was a particular gentleman who was minding his business in the CBD, not causing chaos, not causing mayhem. Okay, but then this guy had on a soccer shirt that was printed on its back,
like a Manchester,
yes,
or Arsenal,
such like things,
or Liverpool,
yes. And you know how obviously most of them doesn't have a number, so I can put there leopard 27.
Put your name.
Yeah. See, Quatch means leopard.
Now you
know. Now you know.
Okay.
And then for me it would be 27 because I was born on the 27th of March, or 73. That would be the year. This guy, on the back of his T-shirt, he put "must go," and then the numerals 27. The homeboy was arrested. Then they took him to a cyber cafe, I think somewhere in Kitengela. Let me not call them Subaru boys. That's disparaging. And then they took away his, because he had a cyber cafe. All right. Then they took away his equipments. Okay. Then he was released on a cash bill of 10,000 bob. But they've got all his office equipment, so to speak. Why are we so draconian? And this guy was charged with incitement, brother.
Well,
wait. Sorry.
You see, that's unfortunate, because there's nothing that makes it illegal for anyone to print certain words on their T-shirts. And if there's any, maybe the listener should be able to help us and tell us when certain statements, when certain verbs became illegal in this country. There's nothing wrong with having a statement such as "must go" on a T-shirt. It's the same way I could say "must come," or "must eat," or "must hide." And so, unless we get either a gazette notice declaring certain phrases in this country illegal, whatever was being done by the police was wrong.
Okay, are we? And of course, you guys as a council have not discussed it as yet. But as you now, in light of what is going on, and we're only in 24, well, 25 is just around the corner. Are you afraid for the drumbeats of war that we're hearing? Because things are becoming very punitive. Are you afraid as we get closer to 27 that you people might be either 1, 2, or very busy, or 3, the word I was looking for is clamp downs?
You see,
Are we ready for that?
you see, we have a constitution in this country. This constitution has to be upheld. This constitution has to be protected. This constitution has to be given the life it deserves.
Right.
We cannot come here and decide to now make this constitution maybe dead.
Right.
And shoot and decide to say that someone is better than another,
Right.
someone has more rights than the other person,
Right.
and therefore when it comes to 2027, and I know you're referring to the election
Yes.
season,
Yes.
before that period of time comes,
Yes.
I believe all of us as Kenyans should be able to express ourselves,
Yeah.
and we have a provision under the constitution on how to go about election and how to elect the people
Right.
who present themselves
Yes.
as capable leaders.
like
So when it comes to that period of time,
Yes.
the people who volunteer themselves to become leaders of this country,
Right.
when the people, because they've been given powers by Article 1 of the Constitution, say that they
Yes.
would like a change in the leadership,
Right.
I don't think anyone should come and say, no, you should not express yourself. You should not be able to express your constitutional right to vote.
Right.
To appoint
Yes.
or to select
Yes.
your president or your deputy or your governor or your senator, any leader. We should all stand up because we have been given that power by the constitution, and no one should be afraid that as we approach 2027,
Right.
that we are now our rights are going to be taken away from us. We
like
should
that.
be able to speak up if we are. For example, if you as Coach, you're not happy about governance, you
Yes.
should be able to speak up, knowing very well the Constitution protects you, and in case of anything, the Constitution is there to guide you and protect you. And we, as lawyers, will come out.
I like
For example,
that.
I'll
Thank
come
you.
out
That's what I wanted to hear.
pro
Yes.
bono.
Yes.
Personally, I'll
Yes.
come out
Yes.
pro bono and give my service
Yes.
to ensure that we uphold the Constitution, because I took an oath
I like
as an advocate
Yes.
to uphold the Constitution.
Yes.
And so we are 20,000 lawyers in this country.
Yes.
We are ready to defend
Yes.
and to uphold this constitution. And any other person out there in the streets, we should be able to uphold the constitution.
Thank you very much, Wakili.
Yeah.
And you can tell he's very passionate about that. So just to be clear, that one of leopard ni mijinga, and now that one of alluding to, that is not a crime. But if the right there, Kwach ni mjinga, that one I can come to you. That one is a problem.
That's where you're insulting a person
Bas.
and maybe even defaming the person.
Bas.
But also, if you were to use statements, if we go to proper intellectual property, if you
Yes.
use statements that are already exclusively owned by certain people,
Yes.
they have gone and trademarked a certain statement and said
like
we are
that.
the only people who can use this statement, then that's against the law
Bas.
by that fact.
I like
But
that.
if nothing has been trademarked,
Yes.
if you have not insulted anybody,
Bas.
if you have not directly said
Bas.
that Kwach ni
Bas.
mujinga or
Bas. Yes.
Kwach should not
Yes.
get a right to do
Bas.
certain things,
Bas.
then by all right the constitution is on your side.
You see why Legal Tuesday is critical. You learn something new every day. Now, thank you for that one and the clarification on that one, Esquire. Now, also we discussed and we came across this one last week, and I'm like, wow, this is interesting. Just remember, I think it was early this year, okay? Anyway, we've had several incidences where I want to call them either gas depots or gas plants. We have had explosions where life has been lost, property has been damaged, and several, dozens of people have always wound up in hospital or in the morgue. Okay? Then at the end of last week, the High Court dismissed a petition challenging EPRA's directive for cheap liquid petroleum gas dealers to install CCTV cameras at filling zones. Apparently, the court ruled that the case should have been brought before the Energy and Petroleum Tribunal first. Now, for the life of me, I didn't understand what all of that meant. All I know is that somebody wanted to put cameras at all of these LPG places because obviously people were doing nefarious things at night. With CCTV, of course, that means enhanced security, which means people's safety. Who is putting our lives in danger, my friend?
No one is putting our lives in danger, and the court is in its own right to give such a ruling because one, there is something in law we call doctrine of exhaustion. So you need to exhaust a remedy or a certain administrative provision before going, for example, to court to seek more reviews or to seek more protection.
Yes.
So, for example, if you have a contract that says that any dispute shall be resolved through, let's say, arbitration.
Yes.
And you ignore that provision about dispute being resolved through arbitration.
Yes.
The court will send you back. The moment you appear in court and say, oh, this one has refused to pay me and I want the court to come in and force them to pay me, the court will ask you, okay, fine, I'm looking at this document. It says you have to go through arbitration because there's a doctrine of exhaustion. You need to exhaust other remedies, other areas and spaces for you to be able to finalize or see whether you can finalize the dispute so that we don't crowd, all of us should not crowd in court. When we have tribunals, when we have even elders, we have negotiators, we have mediators, we should not crowd in court. We should first exhaust and see whether those bodies can actually deal with certain disputes.
But Esquire, surely any half-wit Kenyan would know that, tribunals are red tape and bureaucracy, Baba. Isn't there anything, and I get you, but isn't there certain things that you circumvent that for the public good? What if, touch wood, a filling plant station, whatever they're called, another one explodes tonight? Unfortunately. Simply because we have not done what was in the public good because of that separation of whatever. What did you call it?
I would say doctrine of exhaustion.
That one.
I would say. You see, we are also ignoring the fact that these tribunals and bodies, even if they are red tapes and we know that they will rule a certain bureaucracy, and we know also some of them are unfair because of how they see it, you're better off going to that tribunal, which may take you a shorter period of time than going to court, which may take you a longer period of time. So just follow the procedure laid out for you. Go to that tribunal. First try and have an audience with them. Allow them to make a decision. If you're unhappy with that decision, the law always provides that you can always appeal and now come to court and say, hey, I went to the tribunal and they did not hear me out. I would like a second audience. This audience, please consider me. And even if the High Court is unable to make that decision or in your favor, then you have a third tier and you have a fourth tier in the Court of Appeal.
Okay.
And maybe even in the Supreme Court. You could go to the Supreme Court.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, finally, Esquire, and to me, the irony on this one is we spoke about it last week and we actually had a laugh. And you are all, it was wine and roses, and you're like, no. You know what? In East Africa, we are kumbaya, nene, heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There's been a lot. Well, this is the second last. I remember there's still one more. There's been a lot that's going on, and emails and paperwork has been flying between Champara, I'm assuming it's Kampala, and here Nairobi, Martha Karua Senior Counsel, and indeed the is it called the LSU? Is it the Law Society of Uganda?
Council of Uganda.
Okay,
Legal Council, yeah.
Legal Council of Uganda. Now, as
Law Council, LCU.
Yeah, thank you. We remember that it was a lot of, obviously this stems from Kija Biseje. He came to Kenya. He came to Kenya for the book launch of Martha Karua. Then he was renditioned back. Then next thing we know, he's appearing in court, and Martha Karua was there, and she says, look, I am going to represent this guy. Then obviously lights, camera, action. In court, she's actually there but I don't know if she got a chance to be heard. And Nani was in the dock. And then we asked and we discussed it here. I'm like, and the EAC has celebrated 25 years. And for that person who did not listen last week, can Advocate Eliud Goge Esquire, LLM, master working on his PhD, can you walk into a court of law in Bujumbura, Burundi? Now, it's part of the EAC. And say, and when the judge sits there, albeit in French, and says, who's here? Can you stand up and say, Eliud Goge Esquire for the defendant, my lord? Can you do the same in Kigali, Rwanda? Can you do the same in Juba, South Sudan? Can you do that in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania? Because clearly Uganda have a problem.
No, you can't, unfortunately, unless you sit their bar and you become admitted to their bar. We have something called a bar in the legal profession, which is basically once you are you have your qualifications as a lawyer, you get your degree, then to regulate you, you have to go for another 1 year to an institution. For example, in Kenya, you go to a Kenya School of Law, and all of you from all the different universities all over the world, and even in Kenya, you are probably regulated because you are taught what the Kenyan law is, what the procedures look like, and then you make a prayer to the Chief Justice. The Chief Justice will look at your qualifications and see, okay, this one has gone through the requisite steps, and now I should be able to admit them to the Kenyan bar. The same thing happens in Uganda, happens in Tanzania, happens in Tanganyika, happens in Rwanda, Bujumbura. And so I cannot just appear in any jurisdiction outside Kenya and say that I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, and because we are East Africa community, from the East Africa, then I should be allowed to address that court. Unless there's something called, we have treaties in East Africa. And in Kenya, we have, in East Africa, I believe we have a mutual recognition agreement, which is each country has to sign against that. And so what happens in this scenario, our senior counsel, Honorable Mother Karua.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask if you're an SC or, you've got years of experience like yourself. That doesn't matter. You're the same WhatsApp group with somebody who's still an associate somewhere.
It doesn't matter because, one, the laws of Kenya apply only within the borders of this country. The other laws are in other countries, which they have their requirements. If you want to appear before them, they have their requirements. So, for example, Uganda, it seems to have a requirement that if you want to appear, they can make a special provision for you and give you a temporary license to appear. But you have to make a request before the council, and this request has to be accompanied by your citizenship, your practicing documents, your reasons for appearing in that case, and they have to be. Now, this one was special because they said she did not notarize her documents, or rather, she did not get an advocate of more than, in Kenya, it's more than 5 years you are made to become a notary public, and these are laws which borrowed from the UK. You become a notary public, which means you're recognized all over the world when you witness any document. So she did not get her documents witnessed by someone we call a notary public. And so
from there,
from Kenya. Yeah.
Wow.
So when she prepared her documents, a notary from Kenya should have. It's from your country.
Of course.
It's from your country to stamp those documents. Number two, they said that she also made that request too late, and she assumed. They were very rude, by the way. They were very rude. They said they have jobs in government, and they also have private practice. They have their law firms, and they cannot just. You cannot expect that we are just sitting here, ready to reconvene and look at your application to appear. Number three, they The reason why you wanted to come and represent Besigye is because he had come for your book launch, but this is more political than it is legal. Number 4, they said that Honorable Mother Karua, they said that out of the 50 lawyers who are representing Besigye, she did not show that she had any special skill that she was bringing.
Ouch!
You are very rude.
Ouch!
Number 5, they said that when she did not get her application approved, she tried to meet the Chief Justice of Uganda, and that was unprofessional. That conduct was unbecoming, and they said many nasty words. They used very harsh words, which, when you look at it from the Kenyan perspective, and our president of LSK to this afternoon, Faith Odhiambo, has responded and said they should not treat us like that. We should understand that we also have a system that qualifies people, that we have respect as an East African community, and this system that we have in the country, for number 1, recognizes that Mother Karua, Honorable, is not just any kind of an advocate in this country. She's a senior counsel. She has been recognized to have contributed to the legal fraternity, scholarly, in her representation. Politically, she has done so much, and she has been recognized for that.
Advocate Ngugi.
Yes.
I must say, I've never seen you upset.
I'm angry.
You're pissed.
I'm very pissed.
Now, is this an ego thing? Are you guys pissed as Kenyan lawyers? Am I you're pissed as a patriotic Kenyan? What is it?
We are pissed because we live in a community, East African community, when a single request is being made to our neighbor, who we normally have conferences in the East Africa Law Society.
Excuse me.
The Law Society of Kenya invites the same president for our events here. As a Law Society of Kenya, we invite their presidents, their councils. We tell them, come attend this event. We are having our annual conference. Come and become our guest of honor. That kind of friendship. You cannot then write such nasty words that try and lower the caliber of Honorable Mother Karua.
But I think maybe it's because, if I'm not mistaken, I've not followed the trial, brother. Is he being charged with treason? Because I think it's even the court is in a military. No, it's not.
Yeah, not yet got into that place.
But this is the man who's still the bane of the president's existence, is he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe we don't need Kenyan expertise here to add another thorn to my already dreary long days. Could that be it? I mean, if I told you, I know you're very diplomatic in your speak, but ranking countries in terms of legal expertise, you wouldn't give them a lot of respect, would you? I mean, that's putting words in your mouth.
That's putting words in my mouth. What I would say is, one, this conduct, when we say the East African community, and when we even phrase it in Kiswahili, even sounds better. Muungano.
Yes.
Yes. We say muungano wa? Ushirika.
Yes. Yeah. Ujamaa, ushirika. That one.
What is this?
Oh, yeah, muungano wa jumuiya.
Yeah, muungano wa jumuiya.
Yes.
When we say that, as in those words are heavy, and we're trying to encourage how we can open our borders, work together. You know, we have so many Ugandan lawyers practicing in Kenya. Suppose today, the Law Society of Kenya president and the council decided, you know what?
You see?
Suppose.
We've spoken about this.
Suppose we
Jeff,
did that to them. The way they are treating one of our own.
Thank you. Everyone on planet Earth comes here, but when we try and go out, there's a problem. So that, I just thought about it, top of mind, very quickly though, bro. Because it just reminded me. Then, but what is this East Africa Court of Justice? Can anyone go there?
Anyone can go to the East African Court of Justice.
But that's the one that sits in Arusha.
Yeah, it is established under the East Africa laws.
So that is where
treaty. Yeah.
Yes, that's where African Ngugi can meet the guy from Bujumbura and meet the guy from Uganda, and then let's press play.
We can.
That's the only court.
But we also have our representatives there.
Yeah. But you can't go there as a Kenyan and just say,
I can represent.
Okay.
I can represent, but we have judges taken from the different countries.
Yes, of course. Yes, okay. Okay. So, what's the end game on this? Now that you guys, as a legal counsel, you guys at the LSK, Law Society of Kenya, now we've decided to get in this fray. Does this end well?
It doesn't end well, but what our president has said is
this is faith.
Yeah, this is what faith has said.
Yes.
The Law of Society is considering, after necessary consultation, the suspension of admission of advocates from the Uganda Law Society until such a time as reciprocal arrangements are appreciated and implemented. So we are considering that. So unless now they come back to us and there's some mutual respect and reciprocity,
yes,
then and cooperation, then I think there will be issues. There will be issues around the practice of law between inter-countries. Yeah.
So, long story short, let Martha be heard.
Let her be heard.
Okay.
But also, come back and apologize for using such words.
That is not the Chief Justice. That is the head of the Ugandan Faith Odhiambo's equivalent in opposite number in UG.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys will wait till after Christmas. When Sebo's involved himself, Yoweri Kaguta, I think not. M7 here is that one. He's watching keenly. Speaking of watching keenly, Kenyans were being treated to a lot of drama. Finally, brother. And now that as, I see even professors now getting involved. Okay? We have former presidents of the LSK. Okay? And they all seem to have one thing in common. It is about their behavior or lack thereof, the seriousness or lack thereof. The High Court going up in terms of hearing matters as we get to the tail end of 2024. Yeah? Court sessions, some have been postponed up until next year because people are not there. And they're all asking the same question. Our Lady Chief Justice, surely, why even the small claims court, the judges are not there? What is happening, Wakili? Maybe somebody, they have a matter and then you're told it has been adjourned until next year because of Safari Park. First of all, what is happening at Safari Park?
What is happening at Well, there are different conferences happening right now. And someone was arguing and saying, allow the judges to go for their training.
Yes.
And the same way as lawyers, you find us,
indeed,
most afternoons will be attending some of those educational forums to just update ourselves on the law. Also, judges need to go through the same thing. But I was talking to a colleague of mine and a senior in the profession this morning, and he was saying, hey, look at it this way. These issues are coming up because there's probably a lack of faith, or rather, there are glaring realities around us. So, for example, what was raised by a Supreme Court judge the other day in a certain meeting, Justice Lenaola, and he said, hey, as we discuss AI, we need to come up with a solution when it comes to the issue to do with our e-filing system. What would happen, for example, and here I think I was trying to insinuate the injustice that happened to the former deputy president, where he could not be able to appeal within the period of time to stop the swearing in of the current deputy president. And so those issues have come up, and the Chief Justice may not have said much about it. And she was in attendance, and she swore in the deputy president, the current deputy president. And former presidents are out here asking questions and saying, hey, are we really upholding our position as a judiciary, which is that arm of the government, where we need to make sure that we are different from the other arms of government, where there are no questions on whether there's someone who has called it jury pesa, has said that there's corruption in the judiciary, judges are being paid. Are we on track? And they have said they have evidence, they will come with this evidence, and they were seeking audience to even sit down with the Chief Justice. And the Chief Justice welcomed them, wrote a memo, I saw it, I think late into the evening yesterday, wrote back and said, hey, Professor PLO Lumumba, your request to meet me has been considered. I'm also going to invite the president of the Law Society. I'm going to invite the representatives from the different units, and all of you can come and see me. Let's have this discussion. Let's have these conversations. I'm also going to I've written to DCI to investigate what happened during the that period of time when we had the hearing of the deputy president case. And so what is happening is there are conversations around the judiciary questioning some integrity issues on the system, on some of the judges, and we hope a solution will be found soon.
Okay, so that was Prof's matter.
Yeah.
Now, what about former President Harvey? And in terms of
it's conjoined,
yes,
because he's also supporting it and saying, hey, even as we raise these issues, there are so many cases which are being adjourned, and probably it's an administrative issue. One, should judges be attending conferences and meetings while they should be at work dispensing justice?
Yes.
So there are those questions going on, and hopefully the Chief Justice will be able to come back and maybe come up with either a rota on how to attend some of these events, and it will help us.
I like that.
It will help us because, for example, justice should not take the period of time that it takes.
Thank you.
But in her response last evening, she said that the courts have cleared most of the cases. But I don't know if, as a listener, you would agree with that. If you have a court case, would you agree that we are dispensing with justice as quickly as it would be expected?
Would you agree? You know what we got to do, Jeff, is that we got to make this. We were talking about. We got to make this a call-in next week. Like, would you agree? By the way, so we ask 3 questions and then you give the opinion. Who jamana to us? Well, nani yake? Wouldn't you like that as a listener? I think we're going to do that, by the way. That's a good one. Now, by the way, Rigaji's matters. You'd think after the swearing in, we all forgot about, there were like 28 cases as far as Rigiji. Are they done and dusted? Or those ones
I am not aware of what really happened, but some quarters have said that he withdrew some of the cases. Yeah.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
Now, then this one, I wanted to ask you, I don't know... now we want to get to the question at hand, by the way. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to go into a break. Then when we get back, would give us the matters, the letter of the law, yeah? And then you leave us to it, Safi Esquire.
So you're giving me a couple of maji?
Yeah, yes. So somebody writes in and says, hello, Akili. As a tenant, am I obligated to verify whether the house I move into is poorly constructed and review the relevant documents? Alternatively, what are the appropriate steps to ensure that the house complies with all safety requirements as has been approved as safe? We have seen at this one is not fit for purpose. You people need to vacate this particular building, yeah, and especially in Eastlands, because it's not structurally correct. There you've paid deposit, nini, 3 months, saa zingine hata 6. Lakini you're told out neja. My friend, what are the legal ifs, buts, and whats? Indeed, that was a good question. We're going to put it to Esquire. Well, we have put it to Esquire Eliud Ngugi. We're going to get his response. Quick plus fast after the commercial break next. He is partner at Ngugi Mburu Advocates. He is a master at this law, working on his PhD. He takes time this and every Tuesday to come and give his advice to you legally, no less clearly. Pro bono, all right, doing the Lord's work. It is our friend, it's Advocate Eliud Ngugi Esquire. Wakili, what are your handles, please, brother?
Wakili Ngugi on X, TikTok, Eliud Ngugi on LinkedIn.
You have seen it, you have come across these manenos, and maybe just perhaps you have experienced it. And we have seen them at this building is not good for habitation. And you know what? Ironically, and when you look at in Kenya here, you will see, by the way, that there are certain things and you're like, well, Upper Kenya tuko na matatizo. All right? Because you come across certain things and like, no. Because here it is. I've seen it. And very quickly, right? In terms of the buildings in Nairobi, yeah, there are so many that are just not up to scratch. So that said, somebody's written and says, hello, Akili, as a tenant, am I obligated to verify whether the house that I move into is properly constructed and review the relevant documents? Alternatively, what are the appropriate steps to ensure that the house complies with all safety requirements as has been approved as safe? Now, clearly, Baba, this is tenancy agreements. The obvious question one will ask you is that once you've signed it, is it's law? That's the obvious question.
There are two types of tenancies. There is short-term and long-term.
I like that.
And then there's something we call protected tenancy, which is a lot of us will fall under. If you live in a house for a period of less than 3 years, you'll be in a protected tenancy where sometimes you don't even get an agreement. But in case you had an issue with your landlord, you are always welcome to go to the rent tribunal.
Yes, we've discussed it.
And if you go to that tribunal, then they will say, okay, fine, tell us. And you'll be able to say, I pay monthly rent or I pay quarterly rent. And they will give you an audience and you'll be able to get your rights addressed in that sitting. And then there's a long-term lease, which now falls under the Land Act, where you have to register that lease. For example, if you're a mall, if you're going to take up a space for more than, let's say, 5 years plus, 20 years or so, or even 10 years to occupy a space, then that one that's by law. It will most of them do not even have a termination clause. You're expected to stay in that building for that period of time. If you end up leaving earlier, you pay the balance of the rent. So those are the two types of tenancies.
Right.
And for the short term, you don't require to sign anything. But for the long term, you will require to sign a document.
If you're wondering, Kwach, you're just rambling, one. What are you talking? Well, I'll tell you what. Clearly, it is indeed legal Tuesday at in studio doing the Lord's work, pro bono no less, is Advocate Eliud Ngugi Esquire, partner, Gongi Buru Advocates. And look, so somebody has written in and asked a question. Hello, Akili. As a tenant, am I obligated to verify whether the house I move into is properly constructed and review the relevant documents? Alternatively, what are the appropriate steps to ensure that the house complies with all safety requirements and has been approved as safe? And Esquire, you were talking about long-term and short-term. Please just repeat that for us, by the way.
So there is short-term lease and long-term lease. And for the short-term lease, it involves any lease that is for less than 3 years.
Yes.
And for this lease, you don't even require to write it down.
Sharp.
And that's why it's called you're called a protected tenant, because upon in case of any dispute, you're protected, because if you go to the rent tribunal, they will actually make sure that you're protected in terms of look at were your rights taken.
Yes.
And you don't need to present any agreement to show your tenancy. All you need to do is confirm that you've been paying rent monthly or quarterly, and they'll be able to step in and make sure that your rights are protected. So, for example, right to termination, you have a right to a notice equal to the period of time you pay your rent. So they'll ask, were you issued this notice? And this notice has to be drafted in a certain way as per the act. And so you'll be protected if the landlord is not doing that. So that's short-term lease. And there's a long-term lease where if you're in a building for more than a period of 3 years, and you find most of them will be 5 years, especially for people who have stalls and businesses. 5 years, 10 years. There is a requirement under the Land Act for you to register that lease. So you register that lease, and it is registered in a way that in case of any dispute, then you can always approach the land court, Land and Environment Court, and to seek a redress. When it comes to maybe even your deposits, you paid your deposit, you want a refund, you are required to go there.
Okay.
And so those are the two types of tenancies. But then to answer this question...
Hold on, before you answer this question, and I know you've got to go, but you see, it strikes me, you're talking about, we're talking about leases for commercial properties.
Yes.
What about for my digs?
For your digs... It's also a lease.
Yes.
It's either
so
lease.
Same.
It's a synonym, lease or tenancy agreement. So if you have a tenancy agreement for your house, which is probably you're paying annual, or rather you've sent an annual lease, or an annual tenancy agreement, saying that every new year rent will increase by 10%, and these are your responsibility. You're not supposed to move in and out without notifying your landlord. You're supposed to pay for your electricity. Then for such, it falls under the protected tenancy. Because it's less than the 3-year period provided for under the law.
I see that.
Yeah.
Okay. Sharp. All right. Thanks, because we just had to clarify that. So, Jibu Swali.
It is not necessary for you to conduct the due diligence. That's how I would say, or I would answer that question. For reasons that, one, the law in Kenya provides that if one is in a building, for example, or constructs a house, let's say an apartment or a flat, the law and the county government laws and the laws around construction and building require that there is an inspection that is done before it is occupied, and a certificate of occupation is issued by the county.
Right.
And so if any building is up there and you can see them now advertising, you would expect that the government has done its part. It has ensured that this building got approvals from the start. And so for you as a tenant, you don't need to stress up about, okay, I'm going to occupy this building. But if you have a time and you have a concern, you can always make an application at the county offices and request to get a copy of certificate of occupation.
That is time, eh?
Yeah.
That is time, yeah?
That is time.
Yeah.
If you have a time, then you could go and conduct that due diligence to find out whether the house. But the landlord has a duty to make sure that the external bits of that house are safe enough for you. So, for example, the roof is not leaking. Let's say the extent of the pipes are functioning, the chimney, if you have a chimney. They have that duty to ensure the external bits of your house are working and are in order. And maybe as you sign your tenancy agreement, you need to make sure that these responsibilities are apportioned to the landlord and not to you as a tenant. You're not being told that the roof is leaking, you're the one occupying that house.
You know, Wakili, listen, sorry, because I know you've got to go.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I remember Jeff and I put it on May We Offend You. I think it was last week or the week before, where this guy of Nairobi County Council, this guy who goes to do noise ordinance, to do the CEC, clearly you know him, that name. So listen, he went when there were these floods, this flash, these the freak storms.
Yes.
Right? Then Parklands got flooded. Yeah. Brookside Grove, this Upper Westlands. Ne?
Ujiji Road.
There we go.
Yeah.
They went to an apartment block, and then they found that it was, I think it was 10 stories and over. This guy had built over the river. The guy said, this building, I don't know how they got approval, and it should be demolished. Now, there were tenants inside. Now, unless you are working, obviously, you're a foreigner, where then, there your leases are 6 months. I'm talking about as residential, to a year. Most people, it's deposit and then rent. Now, if I'm a tenant in that building, with this guy said, actually, it's built over the water. That's why there are these floods, because you changed the route of the river. The country, obviously, how he got that license was through nefarious purposes, routes. Me as a tenant, I'm inside, told no, this building has been condemned. But I've paid this landlord. Yeah, how do I get my money, bro? Is it 2 months deposit, 1 month rent? How they do it these days, I don't know. Yeah. How do I get my color?
No, if
I've gone back tonight and they're like, upper 12v2.
No, if a building has been declared unsafe for you, also you need to get out.
Yes.
But there's a provision on termination. It could either be by the landlord or by yourself.
But
so once you find that has been issued out, you should be able to approach that person and say, hey, where's my deposit? I'm out of this building because of not my doing.
This guy is about, his building's about to be put down. I don't think he's going to give me my money back. Can you sort me out as a lawyer?
You should be able to go to court. The court will take care of you. Even the person owning that building. You see, it's unfair. And that's what I saw some comments somewhere asking, why would you come at the end of all this and say, hey, you have to comply with, for example, the drainage, etc.
Yes.
Where were you?
Thank you.
When
as city
the
council
approvals were being done?
Yes.
Why can't that approval or that reversal, or rather, the person who approved that should be responsible?
Thank you.
And me as a person who got an approval to construct in a certain place should be left alone.
But
because I already did my application. But now these are the issues that go to court.
But
they go to the environment, the tribunal on the environment.
Yes.
And we listen to these cases and we make sure that justice is granted. That you don't just lose your money.
But
when your building is declared to be unfit.
Okay.
That you may get some compensation.
Even though you diverted the river and it's clear to everyone but yourself that here you broke the law.
If you come and present your evidence that you applied for approvals to construct, and the law is that you go and apply for an approval,
and you're given,
and the county allowed this approval,
it's not your fault.
It's not your fault.
Wow, I love the law. And we love you, man. Advocate Eliud Ngugi, thank you so very much, Esquire. We shall see you next Tuesday.